to Taiwan Talk on ICRT FM 100. I'm Ryan Drillsma, and this week I'm speaking to Director of the Department of Policies on Migrant Workers at the Serve the People Association, Lennon Wang. This podcast episode is more like a follow-up on a previous episode we did with author Joe Henley, whose book, Migrant, told the story of a Filipino fisherman in Taiwan facing hardships after running away from his abusive boss. I wanted to give you the opportunity to hear firsthand from an organization that has helped out in similar situations. Serve the People Association operates as a shelter for migrant workers from the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia who've had trouble at work in Taiwan. The association offers legal consultation for these people and takes care of their daily needs while their cases are being processed. It then helps them transfer on to, hopefully, a more happier workplace. We've actually been trying to get Lennon to come into the studio for a while, but due to the current situation with the pandemic and everything that's been happening, we're finally talking on the phone. How are you doing today?
Hello, hi Ryan. I'm okay. I'm at home also.
How are you coping with the pandemic?
Well, just like everyone else, we try not to go around too much. But because I live near our shelter, my wife and I, we still go to the shelter quite often. But other than that, we prevent from going too far.
To get into the topic, do you think there are things the public doesn't know about migrant workers in Taiwan?
Quite a lot. Most of them, they don't really understand. And sometimes some of them, they really have some discrimination, racist attitude towards the migrants, which is common everywhere in the world. But many of them, they don't really know the situation. For example, the house workers. Most of them are caretakers. So there's a ward. There's a patient to be taken care of. But most of the caretakers at home, they don't have a room for themselves, and there's no regulation for the working hours, and there's no compulsory day off. They don't have Labor Standard Act, which means their salary is much lower than the other workers. It's almost like they work endlessly, 24 hours a day, and there are all other issues for the factory and fishermen also. The good thing is, in the recent years, there are more local Taiwanese. They are concerned. They try to know more about the migrants.
Lennon explained to me that his association often helps out people that have faced abuse from their employers under unfair working conditions. I asked if there were any particular cases he'd overseen that really stuck in his mind.
There were quite a few cases that can jump out in my mind. I can just give you a few. One of the fishermen who reported he has been physically attacked by the captain. That the captain said, okay, clean the ship. Okay, so he just took the order, clean the ship. But after that, the captain was very unsatisfied, and he used the cigarette to thrust into his face directly. And then he tried to stab him with a knife, so he just ran away. There are too many cases like that, physical attack or rape, sexual harassment. These kind of violence will make a very big trauma. One lady who was raped, after she came here for a couple of days, she told us she can hear the sound, she can see the face of the employer who raped her before, and the sound told her just go to die. So we were so shocked. She was suicidal, so we helped her for a psychiatrist.
Lennon said when cases of migrant worker abuse are brought to court, judicial authorities often have their idea of a perfect victim. He said, for example, in cases where an employee has been raped, they expect the victim to be docile and afraid, but also often ask why they didn't shout out and cry for help or fight back when they were being abused. To Lennon, however, it's obvious why victims in these situations don't fight back.
It's very easy to understand under this kind of physical attack and sexual attack. It's better not to fight back at the moment because you might be hurt, you might be killed.
I then asked Lennon if employers accused of abuse usually face legal consequences.
That's the saddest point. The guy, the employer who raped the lady, in the criminal case, the lady lost. The prosecutor didn't even prosecute. And we appealed to the higher court. They all said some of the statements is contradicted. Among all the fishermen cases, we appealed to the legal authorities. Only one case, one broker, guilty for human trafficking, and the judge even testified that there is a certain amount of illegal money he got from the individual fishermen. But and surprisingly, it's the second time for the case. He was convicted for human trafficking for the second time, but the penalty was only 4 months, which means he can just pay off. He doesn't need to go to the jail for even a single day. We know he is still doing the business now. It seems that the legal system doesn't really focus on this kind of crime.
Do you do any activism or campaigning to raise awareness about the situation?
Right, we did. We are a member of several alliances. Like one is the gender issue, gender reform. One is the human trafficking, the alliance against human trafficking cases. Another alliance is Coalition for the Human Rights of Migrant Fishermen. And we are also a founding member of RLIM. It's an alliance for both migrant workers and foreign spouses. We do the advocacy works with them, and so through the alliance works, sometimes we have press conference. And we meet the government officials to express our concerns.
Lennon explained his shelters usually house 50 to 60 people, but the pandemic has meant there are currently less than 20 in each. He said the length of stay for each guest depends on how quickly they're able to find new jobs, but under extreme circumstances, they will continue to look after guests for more than a couple of months.
Usually the staying is about 2 months. There's a limit, but if the workers still cannot find a job, we can help them to extend. And if it's a very special case, like there's a sexual violence or physical violence, or if the worker was considered as a victim from human trafficking, they can even stay longer.
I wanted to ask you, does language present a problem with the work that you do?
Yeah, so that's why most of the time I can only communicate with the Filipino migrants. Actually, in the beginning, when we founded the shelter, my wife, she was still a caretaker, so she helped me a lot on translation. She helped me to translate for the other Filipino workers who cannot really speak English well. She helped me to type their complaints into a petition, and I helped to file the case. For the other nationalities, yes, we also have a staff, a bilingual staff. Now we have one full-time, one part-time Indonesian staff. 2 of our Taiwanese colleagues, they can speak Bahasa Indonesia fluently already. And for the Vietnamese shelter, we have also another Vietnamese colleague. For the work, if you want to help the migrants, if you want to do the works with the migrant workers, you have to be able to communicate with them. You cannot expect they can speak Chinese or even English.
I asked Lennon if things had improved for migrant workers in Taiwan and what the government can do to improve conditions for them in the future.
Yes, I will say, frankly, there is some progress. The progress was very slow. Before, the migrants have to go home at least for 1 day after a contract. Even they will be rehired. And this article has been removed. So now they can stay in Taiwan and to continue to the same employer or transfer to another employer. But the problem is, most of the brokers, they will take another illegal fee from the workers if they will work again in Taiwan. But I'm still optimistic on the reforms on the policies on Taiwan, on the migrant workers in Taiwan. Take one thing as example, the broker's fee. UN agencies, they already regulated that there shouldn't be a fee for the migrant workers. The Taiwan government is not fast enough to respond to this world trend. They are not fast enough to require for zero fee. And also there should be a more freedom, more liberty for the migrant workers. And domestic workers should be included in the Labor Standard Act. So they should have minimum wage, they should have compulsory day off, they should have regulated working hours.
Thank you, Lennon, for speaking to us today. If you want to help or make a donation to Serve the People Association, you can find all the necessary information by searching for it on Facebook. And that's all for this week. Stay tuned for another new episode of Taiwan Talk next time. Hi, I'm Ryan Drilsma.
And I'm Trevor Tortomasi.
And we're the co-hosts of Taiwan Talk.
You can catch our show on ICRT every Monday during the 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. newscasts.
Or you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, SoundOn, or wherever you might usually find podcasts.
New episodes are uploaded every Monday night.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with a new guest.